let's talk about the one move you are probably not doing that can drastically reduce the probability that you will fall. I want to make this video short and sweet, give you a little bit about the why you should be doing this, and then we'll dive in and show you the actual shape so that you can start to incorporate it in your daily routine. In reality, I could probably give you 10 different exercises that would be the best shape for your hip. And maybe I'll make a little series that goes over all of those shapes. But for right now, let's talk about hip CARs. So CARs is an acronym that stands for Controlled Articular Rotations. And no, they are not just hip circles. They are moving the joint through all of the ranges of motion that the hip has access to in a very slow, controlled, and specific manner. There's a few reasons why hip CARs are so important. One is because modern life is very linear. We move forward, barely backwards, sometimes side to side, and never in a rotational manner. And yet our hips specifically have that ability to be able to rotate. The femur can actually turn inside the hip socket. So because life is linear, but the hip has rotation, we don't get that extra layer of training that is so required in order to keep the hips healthy. And the hips are one of the major components that goes into falling or being able to stay stable. And when we don't feel stable, we end up falling or tripping. So that sort of leads right into the second reason, which is that if you don't use it, you absolutely lose it. Our bodies are very efficient, which means that if we're not regularly accessing a range of motion, our brains go, cool, we don't need this. We'll just start to shut that aspect of the body down. Not really. I mean, obviously it still exists within the body, but it decreases your ability to access that range of motion easily or with fluidity that you might want, especially if you're about to go down. So hip CARs helps you use it. It no longer falls into the category of losing that range of motion, because while the repetitions may be way less than we would ideally like, just because modern life has us sitting for so much of our days for most people, CARs gives you the opportunity to be able to step back into those additional ranges of motion and get into the fuller ranges, specifically the rotational aspects. That all leads into the last point, which is it helps the brain to connect back to the body. One of the reasons why people fall, there's lots of reasons, but one of the reasons why people fall is because their brain doesn't know where their limbs are or where their body is in time and space. So when something happens and you need a quick impulse to be able to go, ooh, let me pull this limb back or up or over, whatever it needs to do in that moment, the brain goes, it's almost like lag time. I don't know where that leg is. How can I ever begin to recruit that musculature to draw the bone or the limb back into the torso or stand upright or do whatever you need to do in that in the fall. And so going through the hip CARs really creates that connection between brain and body, which we desperately want, especially in the hips, the knees, and the ankles. But this video is all about the hips. So let's go ahead and dive in. I want to show you the shape, walk you through it on both sides. So as you can see, I've got two poles. This is literally just a wooden beam and some sort of cardboard tube that I have. This is one of my most favorite setups, but it can be a little bit tricky to recreate. So simply standing up a wall and being able to hold on to something sturdy or holding onto a chair next to you is a great way to start. This is not a balance exercise, probably in the way that you've been taught to think about balance exercises, as in the goal is not just to be able to hold your leg up. That's great, but we're doing something very, very different. So I want stability in my support. So please don't, try to bring yourself through the shape, not holding on to something, because you will be losing some of the impact or the effect that the shape has. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into what the shape actually consists of. You've got your support system, whatever that looks like, two chairs on either side of you standing against the wall, holding onto the back of your couch or some sort of chair that you have in your house. You're going to stand tall on one leg. So one leg is going to be your standing leg. I will give a fair forewarning that oftentimes people comment that the standing leg gets just as much work. So the leg that is going to move is our intended leg or our active leg. And also the leg that is doing the standing is going to take quite a bit of the impact because it is stabilizing, which is just sort of like 2 for 1. It's as if you were sort of getting a double whammy for doing this one shape. The goal of the shape is to move the femur through all the ranges of motion that the hip has access to. There are 6 of them. The 2 rotations, internal and external, flexion and extension, and then abduction and adduction. And the tricky part is that we cross those shapes over each other as we create the shape. Let's go over the movements just so that you can see what that looks like, and then we'll put it all together. The rotation, external, pulling the ankle in, and internal without letting that knee dive in. Everything wants to do this. That's not true internal rotation. Keep the thigh pinned and pull the ankle out. Thigh stays still. External, internal, flexion, up, thigh goes up, extension, hip goes back, not here, right? That's involving the low back, just until I feel the glutes, the muscles on the bum, and then abduction and adduction. You can think about it like a jumping jack. All the way out is abduction, and all the way in is adduction. Now, let's put that together into the hip car. If you wanted to get really advanced, you could do a hip car with a straight leg. We are going to do it with a bent leg because it is much more accessible and it's a great way to start out. So your goal is to move as much into the range of motion that we are targeting as you possibly can, and hold that range of motion as you begin to go into the next shape. You're going to start with external rotation. So the limb is going to pull just like this, almost like a figure 4. This is my right leg. I'm pulling the inside edge of my ankle up towards the ceiling. I'm also getting a little bit of flexion because I am lifting that limb. Then I'm purposely going even more into flexion, and I'm going to pull that thigh all the way up, engage the glutes of my left leg. Now I'm going to take this right leg out like a door, almost like a big Captain Morgan. And then I'm going to rotate. This is the trickiest part of the shape. I switched point of view so that you can see this, right? We've done our external rotation, flexion, abduction, and now hold your abduction and internally rotate. Don't let that knee drop down. People will want to do this and then lift the ankle up. We want that knee to stay up and rotate, pull the pinky toe edge of the foot out and back. Back to that center spot so you can see. So up, up, out, rotate. Now you're going to take that whole entire funky shape and kick it behind you. I'm not falling forward. I'm staying nice and tall. This is where the support comes in handy. I'm kicking that leg back behind, almost as if I was trying to put a footprint on that door that's behind me. And then I'm going to lower all the way down. Adduction, right? Back into that space. I can lower the leg down, take a breath, and then I'm going to kick back. Again, extension. When I kick back, I'm not overarching. The goal is not to just get the leg as high as I possibly can. The goal is to engage into extension, which turns out is actually not that big of a range of motion. So from that extension, glutes, now you'll go into your abduction, knee and ankle, up towards the ceiling. Now, from this space, you're going to start to move into your external rotation again, and all the way back to that starting space. You remember, this is where we started with. Lower down and come back to standing. Let's try it on the other side. We're starting with that external rotation. Knee stays, right? It's relatively pinned. Inside edge of the ankle curls up, and then pull even more into flexion. You may let some of that external rotation go and bring the limb all the way out, holding that flexion. So the whole entire time I'm trying to get my knee to touch my elbow as much as I can. Once I get into that abduction, I'm going to internally rotate. I don't know if I said that on the other side. Knee stays, ankle starts to pull back and up. Try not to let the knee dive too far forward, and take that whole entire limb back behind, kicking. Donkey kick, I'm not folding forward. I'm very much using my support to help keep myself stable. And then close, coming all the way back to neutral, and then reset, kick again, go out, abduction, knee and ankle. When I cannot lift anymore without diving over, right? Obviously I could get a lot higher if I allow myself to fall over, but I'm trying to stay as vertical as I possibly can. I'm gonna pull that knee up and sweep the ankle across as I flex, externally rotate, adduct, and come back through that neutral space. So there's your shape. It is funky. It does take a second to be able to learn and figure out where your limbs are. Part of the reason why it's so challenging is because of exactly what we talked about at the very beginning. Your brain is unfamiliar with moving your limb into those ranges of motion and asking for a lot of work or a lot of activity in that space. So please be patient with yourself. Give yourself some grace. It may take yourself a moment to fully find the shape. I'm going to include some extra reps at the end, just if you wanted to follow along with me without all of the extra instruction. We can just simply move through the repetitions so you have that, and then you can follow along. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Begin by moving into external rotation and drawing the thigh as close to your torso as you can while you open the leg all the way out to the side. Pin the knee and lift the ankle as you begin to kick behind you. Once you feel that kick, not in your low back, slowly lower, take a breath and reset. Kick back, lift out knee and ankle, and then draw the thigh up towards your armpit as you sweep across back into that external rotation and slowly lower down. Start with your external rotation and then pull the thigh as close to the torso as you can, and then open the leg out like a door. Pin the knee and lift the ankle. Take that whole entire shape and kick it behind you without moving into your low back. Slowly lower that leg towards the other one. Reset, take a breath, kick back, lift knee and ankle, draw that knee up into your armpit, and then sweep back across the front of the torso.